you and I have talked, and when we did the dark romance episode, we sort of danced around the idea that like the closest thing that romance gets to horror is that dark romance piece, right? Which I think is a really fascinating way of thinking about particular parts of the pool. To a book, I mean, what's interesting though is every once in a while, someone will tweet about us or Instagram us, and tell us that they can't do IAD because it's too scary.
Yeah, right.
And it's fascinating because it doesn't feel scary to me at all. At no point do those books feel scary to me.
Does that, in this sense, mean violent? Like, right? Like, there is, I mean, we come to lost limb count,
obviously,
right?
They're violent.
Right?
Yeah.
So
But the violence feels like cartoon violence in a lot of ways because they're immortal.
Sure.
Right?
But I think that's because we're heathens, you and me. Right? I mean, I think sometimes
high barriers.
Yeah, right. No. So I mean, I often, because like to me, scary, it's like what is scary about like horror is I don't do very like Mr. Reed's Romance loves horror and I do not.
Yeah. Well, but you don't like a jump scare.
I don't like a jump scare.
You can't really have a jump scare in a book.
But there's a kind of violence that horror traffics in that is way too much for me. I'll watch like, you know, handsome men blow things up fine. Handsome men like being ripped literally limb from limb.
Oh no, I mean
right?
like,
yeah.
Well, that's torture porn. That's like a different beast. Okay, well, so this book is a little spooky to me.
Yeah.
Like I could see it here. Okay, it's Charis Reid's I'll Come Back for You.
Okay.
And it also, interestingly, has that Ouija board motif on the front of it. Which is why I bought it a million months ago. Yeah. She posted about it on Twitter, and I instantly was drawn to this cover. It was really very cool. But so the premise here is Whitney and her sister Helen. This one's for those of you who like an older heroine. Whitney is 39. I always try to flag that because I know a lot of people are interested in that. Whitney and her friend Helen and her sister Helen have inherited their grandmother's bed and breakfast in upstate New York, near Lake Ontario. So, this bed and breakfast has gotten a number of like bad reviews, and part of the and like people. So, and a number of these bad reviews are basically from like tourists who were unsettled in the space. And the book begins with a kind of creepy beginning where Whitney wakes up in this bed and breakfast and she senses that something bad is in the room, like something's with her. Mm-hmm. She's had a bad dream. And so she says out loud, like a little incantation that, you know, clearly is like an instinctual thing for her. But like this when the book begins, so that's the prologue, and when the book begins, it's very clear that, like, this has all gone poorly. And so they have hired the Ghost Punters television show. I love that name, Ghost Punters, to come to the bed and breakfast and, like, do, like, a ghost huntery type episode about the bed and breakfast and, like, find the ghost and, like, punt it from
Amazing
life. Jen, the cameraman for this show happens to be somebody that Whitney got drunk with and had one drunken kiss with like years ago. And because he's a decent dude, she was super drunk. They were both super drunk. And he was like, we need a rain check. And they never got their rain check. But guess what happens now?
I think they're about to get that rain check.
So Dion shows up. He's the like handsome cameraman as part of the crew. There's like the lady who runs the audio and the like doofy host of the show. And they all come and they all like choose their rooms in this like big bed and breakfast for the weekend while they're going to film an episode of Ghost Punters. And Dion's such a good dude that he like chooses a room that's outside of the main building of the bed and breakfast because like he doesn't want to be... Like, he appreciates that it could be weird. Maybe she doesn't want that rain check, but of course she does. Of
course she does.
So it's super sexy, these two, like, and what's cool about it is, like, Dion's like, this is fake. Like, he sort of feels bad because he's like, these women have brought us in to, like, because they believe that something's up
Right.
in this bed and breakfast. And like, like, this is fake. This is all made up. Like, it's not real. None of it is real. But Jen, it is real.
Yeah, of course it is.
And this bed and breakfast is completely fucking haunted. Haunted by a previous owner who is terrible.
Wow.
Like, scary and terrible. Like, this is some real ghost shit.
I love it.
And like the end of this book is like, so the romance is really beautiful because it's these two people who like really like each other. And they're like decent people who just like want to be together. And the conflict of this book is, except there's a ghost haunting this bed and breakfast and it wants Whitney dead. And like,
That's
at one
intense.
point, there's like this like great moment where like she's trapped on one side of a door and like the ghost is going for her and he's on the other side of the door and he can't get to her. And they're like shouting their feelings at each other.
I love
and
it.
It's really great. It's a really, really fun, spooky read. And I enjoyed it.